Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to The Art of Attraction with Dominey Drew. So glad to be back with you today for episode, I think this may be 22 at this point. Today, I have a great episode for you, a great show for you planned out, all about how to date authentically. This is something I come across so often. It's crazy. And, a lot of men feeling like they just can't, they can't get a date without all these games, without all of this effort, without all of this playing around, and it's just absolutely exhausting. So today I really want to go into some serious detail about what you can do, how you can make sure that your dating process stays authentic, and keep it easy. It should be easy and fun, guys. If it's not easy and fun, there's other things we could be doing with our lives. Am I right? So my name is Dominey Drew. If you don't know me, I'm I'm a men's relationship and dating coach. I specialize in helping single men attract life partners through personal and relationship coaching. And I do that via an 8-week course that I've designed called The Art of Attraction, which really breaks everything down step by step, okay? It's a dynamic, engaging process that really shows you step by step how to go from wherever you are, okay, low self-confidence, always attracting the same relationship, perpetually single and no idea why. I mean, all of these are huge issues that plague huge numbers of people, and really, it just doesn't need to be that way. Okay, so what makes my program unique is that I really approach this issue from a lot of different angles. Okay, my training goes all the way from college education and a master's degree to really intensive energy healing schools for 4 years at a time, of which I've done 2. I've done this work for about 15 years total, actually, in an intensive way, and I'm an absolute poster child for its success. I was actually speaking with my coach the other day. I have somebody who helps me as well, which I recommend everyone have, especially if you're in the business of helping others. You should always have somebody who helps you. And she spoke to me the other day, and she said, it's funny, I just lost my train of thought completely. Oh well, it'll come back to me. I'll tell a story about my healer. Anyway, so it's really about coming at it from all of these different angles. Okay, this really intensive. Okay, this is what you're struggling with. Great, then let's look directly at it and let's address it from there. Right, instead of sort of I'm so sorry all that happened to you, and of course there's compassion. It's a beautiful process. But what makes my program different is that it's really about getting you directly to it. Okay, I really find that a lot of coaches, they kind of deal in the areas of the fluff. They'll work on things that aren't really the problem, or they'll only work on one level or another. Okay, so as I said, my background spans a lot of genres. Okay, there's psychology, there's conflict resolution and nonviolent communication. There's actual certification in nonviolent communication, energy healing, the spiritual, psychological crossover, and then also the practical realm, okay, of great, now that we've gotten your mindset straight, okay, because 95% of the time, it's you holding yourself back, right? I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, really, if you look at it directly into its core, I'm in the business of human development, of human potential, right? Of unlocking your potential. And we're going to talk a lot about that today, because I think that a lot of people really tolerate the dating process or really don't enjoy it, and they just kind of want it to be over, which I totally understand, because a lot of people have really negative experiences with it. The problem comes when you're not really able to, that affect how you feel about dating affects your dating life, right? So you can't sort of skip the miserable dating part and go straight to meeting the love of your life. Of course, you certainly can. And generally, once you get your mindset straightened out, that tends to be how it happens. But while you're struggling, or you're in the dating world, and you're really wanting to kind of end the struggle. You know, a lot of the clients I work with, a lot of the men I work with are really just, they're just struggling. You know, they're fighting against something, and that something is themselves. But you know, be that as it may, they're unable to move forward, and so then they get sort of soured on dating, and then of course when they meet someone even who could be potentially great, they're already jaded. You know, so then what comes out is this kind of negative, you know, kind of bitchy feel, just because it's been so long and so many other people have you know, not taken this seriously, or whatever it is that you're struggling with. So the process really is covered all the way, you know, from the ins and outs of dating, and how to approach, and what to say, and where to find the women that you're interested in. And I teach you all the way, you know, from all of those things, all the way to, you know, the deep psychological, okay, well, on a deep level, you know, what is it that's really hindering you here? And we go all the way down, and that's how I'm able to get results as quickly as I am, because I really address it from all levels at once. A lot of people will sort of just do the psychological, or they'll just do the spiritual. So then you sort of feel better spiritually, but your problem's not actually being fixed. So when I say it's sort of goal-oriented or results-oriented, I don't mean that the process isn't, you know, as rich and beautiful and can be strong, or can be gentle, you know, whatever it is that you need, but really that it's all sort of coming together. Okay, it's all coming together in one piece. We're hitting it from all these different angles, and then boom, you move forward as a whole being. You know, because you're not just a psychological being, right? You're a mental being, an emotional being, spiritual being, physical being, right? Psychological, energetic. So those are really the sort of the 6 levels that I tend to cover. So today I really want to talk about authenticity in the dating process. You know, this is something, again, where a lot of people just get really frustrated and really, you know, blocked and jaded. This just happened to me, actually. I was speaking with someone on one of the online sites that was, we had really good connection, we were attracted to each other, and we were interested, and it just started getting really, you know, I said, oh yeah, I'm so sorry, I can't see you tonight, I have plans. And he said, oh, you have another date? And I was like, well no, I just have another, you know, and we haven't met this person yet, right? And so his sort of asking me whether or not it was a date was like off-putting to me, because I was like, oh, you know, and he was like, oh, I can't believe people are always dating around, and you know, and so I can't believe you like someone else, or something like this. I've never met this man in my life. And I thought, what a great example, you know, of someone who's just over it. And I get it, you're over it. But the problem is, if you come at me with that attitude, it just looks like you're expecting me to not be seeing other people, and I've genuinely never met you in my life. So that's sort of, so you can see how that, you know, that perspective, coming at it from that angle, is kind of shooting himself in the foot, because what he was interested in doing was meeting me and going out. And what ended up, you know, happening is, you know, us not going out, because, you know, he's pissing me off. So you can see how these things sort of, even if he's a great person, you can just be wearing sometimes. It can really just wear you down. And so you really want to be aware of that. And, you know, if you find that happening, my recommendation, I'm going to be honest, is to stop dating. It really is. You know, it's like, step back, take some time off, clear it out. I mean, delete the apps. Don't just put them down, because you'll pick them up again, because there's like an addiction quality to online dating, right? So if what you really want is a life partner, and the methods that you're trying aren't working, then I would really recommend stopping. Just stop. Fill your life up with other things. Shift your focus, okay? Because coming at it from that jaded, exhausted perspective, it just pushes people away, and then you see how that perpetuates the cycle, and then you go, oh, see, nobody's serious. So this guy, who I'm giving you an example of, could say, see, nobody's serious. So I'm proving him right. But really, you see what's happening under the surface, because you're hearing it from my end, right? So he comes at me with this, I can't believe you like someone else. And maybe he was a little bit joking. In fact, I even asked, I said, was that a joke? Because I would rather be clear. And so I asked him, I was like, and I said, I said, I assume you're kidding. And he said, partially. And then I was like, oh, okay, so here it is, this jaded sort of feel. And so he pushed me away, but it looks like I'm just not serious. So the way you have the perspective that you have is absolutely everything. I had a great quote that I saw the other day. It said, perspective is everything. The Titanic was a miracle to the lobsters that were live in the kitchen. Think about that. Perspective is everything. The Titanic sinking was a miracle to the lobsters in the kitchen, right? Because they're like in their cage and all of a sudden they're like free in the ocean. So I found that really quite fascinating, because obviously you're like, what's positive about, thinking of the Titanic? But also you kind of have to be aware that humans really like to label things. We like, oh, this is good and that is bad, and that is bad and this is good. And losing weight is good and gaining weight is bad. And, getting married is good and being single is bad. It's like all these sorts of things that we just project, and those things are none of those things. Being single is great. I love being single. I'm literally voluntarily single currently, So like, you can't say that that's been the case for most of my life. Most of my life I grew up being very lonely and struggling with all the exact same issues, low self-confidence, unable to really, to manifest what I wanted. I couldn't meet people that I really liked. It was terrible. My dating life was a mess. And now it's, pretty amazing. So anyway, so let's dive right into dating authentically. Okay. So what does that really mean? Okay, so when I say dating, I'm really talking today primarily about the beginning stages of the relationship. Okay, finding someone and getting through those first few dates. Okay, so what does it mean to date authentically? Really, what I mean by that is being real through the process. Okay, so from the very beginning to the end, from the moment that you decide to, check Tinder or whatever, until you're asking for your second or third date, okay? So if you could be completely real through that process, if you didn't feel the need to play games or say things to get certain responses, sometimes I'll have a client come on the phone and they'll say something like, well, I had to ask her out, or I had to kiss her because it was a third date, and you have to kiss her for the third date. Or something like that. And it's like these rules that people sort of put in their heads, and they're not useful, okay? Particularly because if you're the type of person to have rules in your head in dating, then you're probably being distracted by them and not enhanced by them, okay? If you're just like, wow, the dating world is a wild west, I sure wish I calmly and confidently knew when to kiss a woman, then you wouldn't be having that conversation. You wouldn't need the date, because you'll feel it intuitively because you're confident, right? Confidence is huge. People say, do you teach men, what to say? And I will if genuinely you need help, but for the most part, I don't. And the reason is because by the time I'm done with you, you don't need the words. You see a woman, you notice she's wearing a purple shirt, and you walk over and say, purple is my favorite color. I've never loved purple so much as I do, whatever you come up with, but it will come naturally, right? It'll come easily. So you won't need to work so hard to think, right? There shouldn't be a huge amount of thought. Thought is, as we were talking about, just a few minutes ago, as we were just discussing, thought is only one aspect of you, okay? Also, you've got feelings, and you've got energy, and you've got a physical body. So thoughts are only one piece, and they're extremely useful. Obviously, please think. Thinking is good. However, when it comes to women and dating, thinking can really get you in trouble. Okay, and it really can lead to second guessing, overanalyzing, and that's really the foundation for what we call approach anxiety. Okay, so it's really about being real through the process. Okay. When you do this, the process itself starts to shift, okay? The process starts to lean more towards ease instead of struggle. Do you know what I mean? You really, instead of sort of every direction you turn, there's a block, or there's something, you have those periods in your life, and sometimes they last hours, and sometimes they last years. I've had both, where, you know, it just seems like every direction you go is wrong, right? Every turn you take is not quite the right one. Every woman you go out on a date with is just not quite the right one. Any kind of pattern like that, you know there's something going on in the subconscious. That is your link. If you can say, yep, I went on 5 dates, and at each of them I felt intimidated, or at every single one of them I felt superior, or I felt, you know, confident, not confident, whatever. If there's a pattern like that, then that's worth looking at. Okay, that's how you find that's how the change actually happens. Okay. So what I'd like you to do when you think about your dating life is to really consider the possibility that the process of finding the love of your life could actually be as amazing as having found her. Okay? I feel as though a lot of people tend to come towards this with the perspective that, okay, well, it's a dating process and I just have to get through it so I can meet someone. And that's great. And the people that I speak to are also looking for serious relationships. So my demographic is intentionally, you know, slanted that way. That's what they want. They want long term. And long term is not better than short term. That just happens to be where I work. But they're really seeing the dating world as this sort of, you know, the story of Sisyphus can be useful here. Sisyphus angered the gods. He was immortal back in Greek and Roman times, and he angered the gods and was banished to this particular place, the name of which I can't remember. And he was cursed to his job was to roll this huge boulder up a hill, and as soon as he gets to the top of the hill, the boulder rolls back again, and he has to do it again, and he has to do that for eternity. That is his punishment. And I found that a very I love the old Greek and Roman stories anyway, but I really love this one because it's such a good fucking metaphor. How many of us in our lives legitimately say it or write a comment or write me a note? How many of us genuinely feel as though there's some aspect of our life where we're just pushing something heavy up a hill and then it rolls right back down and we do that shit again, right? And how much time? You know, I've done a huge amount of work by this point. There's not as many for me as there used to be, but boy, there used to be a lot. I mean, I would fight everything. Huge, you know, a lot of forcing current with me, a lot of push with me, a lot of just inner struggle. I was always fighting something, right? And that's what, you know, and so then it's me. And all of this is going to come back to me, to you. Okay, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about dating or your history with cars or your, you know, your financial situation or your business. It doesn't matter. You know, who you are, you will be in all of those different places, regardless. So what ended up it came down to was me. And if I was going to struggle, then I was going to struggle in the dating scene, and I was going to struggle around money, and I was going to struggle around business and my purpose and my this, my friendships. You know, everything was struggle. So so when I say that I go down straight to the core of the issue, this is actually a great example. So let's say I come to me, I'm a client, I come to me, or to my healer, and I say, okay, I'm struggling with dating. You know, the first thing I'm going to start asking is, okay, where else are you struggling? Because if struggling is the common denominator, then we're going to deal with struggling and not with dating, because dating is not the point. Dating is not the problem. Okay, the problem is something inside that is then being reflected in my dating life. So. So what I ended up having to do, and this is all true, by the way, is letting go of the struggle. Okay, because I had a little addiction to it. I was like, struggling. I actually what was happening, to be transparent, is that I was subconsciously associating struggle with life force, with life itself. So I thought that if I stopped struggling, literally, life would stop. There would be a kind of death. And that sounds maybe silly when you put it in words, but when you look at the way fears are sort of structured in the brain, or in the body, actually, then, you know, you tend to see this. It's like, oh, from that perspective, that's exactly what it looks like. You know, it absolutely looked that way. It was like, well, I have to do this. It'll come out as, well, I have to struggle. You know, I mean, obviously, it's just hard. It's not me. It's just hard, right? So we tend to sort of push everything out and attribute responsibility to other areas of life that don't hold responsibility for these particular issues. So that's why we always bring it back to me. Okay, me, it's me. I'm needing to struggle. Okay, great. Now that I've recognized this, okay, good. Let's come back. Consider the possibility. That's the next step. First you recognize it, then you consider the possibility. What if the process of finding the love of your life could be as amazing as having found her? Right? What would that even be like? I mean, I'm just thinking as I'm saying this of the people that I work with, and you know, a number of them would be like, I don't even know what that means, right? So just consider the possibility. Consider the possibility are three very, very powerful words because they cause you to look outside of the way you've always assumed that it is. Does that make sense? So if you go, well, dating just is a struggle. It's not me. Dating just is a struggle. Okay? Okay. Consider the possibility that it's not. It's not only not a struggle, it's a joy. It's filled with joy. And that by definition causes you to turn away from what you just said has to be and look the other direction. And then it, you know, what's there, that belief right there shifts a little bit. It goes, oh, well, hang on, because you're questioning the belief. Okay? So this is sort of, I'm giving you a lot of insight into sort of how this process really actually works when you get to down to the nitty-gritty of it. So considering that possibility, okay? All right, so how do you recognize if you need to be more authentic? You do. If you're currently as incarnated as a human on the planet, then you probably can stand to be more authentic. It is literally something that you can't do enough of, okay? But more practically, if you are struggling in the dating scene, really, you know, if you are finding yourself not getting what you want, if you're finding yourself, you know, finding that closed door up around every corner, that type of feel we're talking about, where every time you turn around, it feels like you know, you're already being told no or being, or failing, right? So if you're struggling, if you're resisting the process at all, okay, if you're not, and this is what we were talking about just a minute ago, if you're not enjoying dating, then you're not going to be in a great mood or give a very good first impression, you know, even if you meet the right one. And that can be really quite scary. I work with this a lot with people who have relationship patterns, right? They're continually attracting the wrong relationship in the same way, the same wrong relationship, and they have no idea why. And this is a big problem that I fix. This is something that I have a direct line to, great, here's what you're doing, and here's the way out of it. And I've just had incredible results with it, which is great. But what they'll say is they'll say, you know, Dominey, I'm terrified that I won't, that I'll actually meet the right one and then sabotage it, like I have with all the other previous relationships. And that's really scary for a lot of people. Because it's one thing to, you know, to think, oh, maybe I'll never find her. But it's another thing to think, even if I do find her, I can't attract her. I'm not in the space to attract her, right? You have to get your shit together, right? For a life partner. You know, not that your life can't be messy or things can't just randomly happen, but if this is something that you really want, you need to kind of up your game around it. You need to get your life in order first. Remember, everything is just a reflection of you. So as you start putting your ducks in a row, you know, if your issue is being kind of too messy or too lackadaisical or sort of too casual about things, get your shit together. You know, get yourself into the type of place where you can really imagine seeing her and where you can really imagine having her come into your life. That's one of the practical things that we work on in my program. Is your life currently set up in a way that you can fit her into it? If you met the woman of your dreams right now, what would you need to change? And they'll be like, oh, well, I would need to, finish the construction of the bedroom, and I would need to move this over here and do this. And I'd say, great, do that now. Do that now. Okay. Get your past relationship drama, all the shit you're carrying over from your ex who, did terrible things. Clear the plate. Make room for her. This is important. It's really quite significant. Okay. So make room. Assume she's coming, before she's coming, and make sure that you're ready for her. Okay. So yes, if you're not enjoying dating, then you're not going to give a good impression, even if you meet the right one, and you're going to push her away. Okay. So get that not just your practical life, but also your thoughts, your mindset, your mentality. That's what's really important. Get that stuff straight, and then you'll be amazed how your level of attraction shifts when you start getting your mind straight. Night and day. Night and day. I could have walked through a room naked, and I don't think anybody would have looked at me back in the day. And then something shifted, and suddenly I could walk into a room and everyone noticed. I could feel everyone notice. I could see everyone notice. People started commenting on it. It was a huge shift. So this is work that creates real life change. Not just oh, I'm in a better place now. You will be in a better place, but that's also going to reverberate throughout other areas of your life. Okay, other ways to recognize if you need to be more authentic. If you feel ongoing unhappiness in any area of your life, dating life, but really just life, then there's room to be more authentic. Okay. Ongoing unhappiness, and I specify ongoing unhappiness because it's not that, life will happen and there will be ups and there will be downs. That is how life works. It's changing, it's flowing, it's moving, things are always happening, right? So, if you allow life to come through, okay, if you allow what happens to happen, let yourself feel your reaction to it fully, and then let it go when it goes, you will have the happiest life it is kind of possible to have on the planet, truly. The problem comes when life happens and then we attach to it, okay? So, okay, so you get in a fender bender, right, on the way home from work. And it's not a big deal, but it was a little scary, maybe you got a little bump. And there are a number of ways you can handle that, okay? You can completely attach to it, okay? You can talk about it, you can tell everybody about it, you can post about it on Facebook. This is my favorite form of attaching to negative emotions, is posting it. Think about, okay, basic secret, and I know that I had an entire episode on sort of picking apart just exclusively positive thinking or the secret type of work, but this foundation is in reality. So if you can think of the very basic premise of that entire system, which is that what you focus on expands. Okay, so you had a little car accident. You're okay. The car's okay. You may need to get it fixed. Maybe get a new bumper. Just don't really need to do it now. So if you have money, then so you could either come home and you could say, "Oh my God, that was absolutely the worst. I'm gonna have 4 beers and I'm gonna talk to my friends about it, and I'm gonna tweet about it, and I'm gonna put it on Facebook, and then I'm gonna think and worry all evening about how much money it's going to cost to fix that thing." See how all of this attention and focus and drama is being created around this one relatively small event. That's attaching to it. Sound effects are helpful. So does that make sense? So something happens, you've heard people say, it doesn't matter what happens, it matters how you react to it, right? Basically, this is more of that, okay? So you choose, and in every moment, this is so important, every moment you have the opportunity to change your life. Every single one. The only reason why you're still getting what you've always gotten is because you're still doing what you've always done. So there needs to be a shift, okay? So if I were, say, to be with that person that evening after her fender bender, okay, and she's talking all about it, and she's posting about it, and she's, you know, she's incredibly stressed about money. I don't have any money. I don't have any money to fix it. Oh my God, I'm a bender. Okay. So if I said, you know, what if, you know, you're okay, you're safe, you know, the car is maybe going to cost like $400 a fix. Honestly, it's not really that broken, so you don't need, if you're tight on money, you know, you've got some time to save that. Why don't we just, you know, forget about it and have a nice evening? That will be very frightening for that person to do, right? But if they do it, if they're able to, like, it'll be like, oh, I have to worry about it because otherwise something might happen. There's sort of this kind of control you take on yourself. It's like, no, I have to make sure that I handle this situation, which is over. You're just worrying. Worrying sometimes feels like, no, I'm taking care of it. Like, I definitely have to worry about it, so I make sure I'm doing everything right, or I don't miss anything or anything like that. And you're like, that's not what's happening here. You're just worrying. You're not serving yourself. You're not. So anyway, so the flow of life will go up and down. Okay. So if you were to the healthy way of responding to this situation, okay, you have a little fender bender. You let yourself feel the emotion of that. Okay, I feel emotions very cleanly now, very quickly now, because I've cleared a lot of my emotional blocks away. So if I were to get into a fender bender, you know, it may not upset me, but if it's large enough to upset me, then I would let myself get upset. I'll go home. I'll be like, that was really intense. There's a little bit of a life-threatening, like, you know, your system goes, you know, and your adrenaline probably spikes, and that's, physical body is not my area of expertise, but you know, the cortisol sort of goes up, right? And you worry, my life is threatened. So, okay, let that come out, okay? I really like to cry. Crying's great, fabulous release. I always feel fantastic afterwards. I have no issue around it, no problem whatsoever. So I would probably come through, I would let that energy, that emotional wave come through. And then as the emotions came down, I would let them come down. Don't attach to them. I'm not holding on to them and keeping them high. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this thing happened. Yeah, and this other thing, can you believe that happened? You see what I mean? I'm not creating more. I'm not injecting energy into it. I'm just letting what's there come through me. And then when it's ready to go, I let it go. Okay? And what that does, that is the authentic way, okay? That is the authentic way to respond to any situation. And I'm using a car accident here, but this could be you texting a girl you're interested in and she doesn't respond for 3 days. That could be the same situation. So what people will tend to do with this sort of, if you can imagine like a bell curve, okay, of life doing its thing, okay? So sometimes life is, you know, goes upwards, and sometimes it goes downwards, and that's just life doing life. So if we can picture it as a bell curve, where people tend to get stuck is when they feel the emotion coming, they stop it, they'll resist it. Nope, it's just a fender bender, I'm fine, I don't care. It's no big deal. I eat fender benders for breakfast. This is my tough manly voice. So the fender bender, it's no big deal. I'm too tough to be upset about stuff like that. Resisting emotion. You got cortisol, right? Adrenaline, whatever it is that some doctor will correct me later that happens when you get into fender bender. You're something spiked. It's going to spike in you whether you're tough or not. It has nothing to do with whether you're tough, okay? But the tough response, quote unquote, the defense is, I don't need to feel that. I'm not scared. I don't need to feel that. Okay. But it's there, right? Every moment is an opportunity to change your life. Every single one. So if you got in that fender bender and you went right into your, oh, I have a problem with this, it's fine. There's an instant there where there's a chance. What if I were just a little more authentic? you know what? I'm pretty big and tough. I can handle a lot, but shit, that was scary. That could have gone either way. 5 inches to the left, and let me feel that. Let me feel the vulnerability, the inherent vulnerability that just comes with life. Just comes with it. It's part of the game. So resisting that is resisting that intro bell curve. I'm trying to gesture with my hands. This is why I keep smacking the microphone, sorry. So with this bell curve, most people will resist it on the way in. A lot. Very common to resist it. I don't want to feel that, Oh, we're talking about exes. Oh, I don't want to talk about exes. I don't want to talk about it. Which is what you're saying is, I don't want to feel that. Ways to recognize that you're doing this, that you're resisting that, feeling that authentic emotion, are your breathing will cut off, your tonality will change, but you probably wouldn't recognize that on yourself. You'll feel a little bit tense and a little bit like, I'm fine, everything's fine. Okay, my breathing cut off, I have some tension, I'm holding my stomach instead of kind of relaxing, I'm resisting life. Okay, and the extent to which you resist life is the extent to which you are unhappy in it. That, my friends, is actually a fact. So let's say you're the type of person who feels emotion really well, right? The example that I gave earlier, get to a fender bender, and he's so into she's so into the fender bender that it's exaggerated. It's the other extreme, right? One tried to cut off the emotion, and this one is like, oh my God, it was such a big deal. I have to post again about it on Facebook and then on Instagram, and I'm going to put a picture up, and I'm going to tell everyone about how terrible my life is. And you can see how that's the other extreme, right? That one is on the other side of the bell curve, and they won't let it go. They're holding on to the emotion. They need it for something, okay? Might be something similar to what I have, where they sort of link it with life force, or it's, the way people have with drama. And I've got several episodes where I speak specifically about drama in relationships, because it's very much this dynamic of like, well, I have to feel something, and she's exciting. It's like, yeah, she got you put in jail. What kind of excitement are you looking for? That's actually a true story. Not mine, but one of my clients. So the things that we'll sort of put up with just to feel something, right? Okay, so let's come back to being on how you recognize if you need to be more authentic. So if you feel this ongoing happiness in any area of your dating life, then there's room to be more authentic, right? So the point that I was making that I sort of went on about there is, if you just let the bell curve come up and down and go down, and you let it come through, you're open to it while it's there, and then you detach from it when it's gone, let it go, then you won't have ongoing unhappiness. Okay, the unhappiness will spike, something sad happened, I am sad for a while, and then I come back down again. Or I go, whatever, down and back up. That might be confusing. You know what I mean? Okay, so, and I think that I heard, I may need to look this one up again, but I did hear at some point, quite some time during my studies, that the human emotion will only last for about 7 seconds at a time, authentically, okay? Large things I've seen come through that's more than that, but roughly it's a matter of seconds, that you really feel the wave of emotion. Any longer than that, you're usually holding on to it. So just let it go, just not like, oh, I'm sad, I'm gonna not be sad now. It's just like, oh, I'm sad. Do I still feel sad? Yes, I still feel sad. Okay, yeah, I feel really, really sad. Let yourself feel sad. And then, do I still feel sad? To see if you're holding on, okay? Does the fender bender still need to be talked about, or is this roughly, or are we kind of good here, right? So if you have this sort of healthy emotional balance where you can really just let things, feel things as they come and let them go as they go, then there will be no ongoing unhappiness. It will just be a short period of time. You'll move through it, you'll process it through your system, and then it will be gone, okay? But if there's ongoing unhappiness, that's when you know that there's room to be more authentic, okay? Another way to recognize if you need to be more authentic or not is if you make a lot of assumptions and judgments, okay? This is very, very common. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky one too, because, you know, evolutionarily, we tend to do that. Our brain tends to automatically do that. We like to categorize things, right? You know how humans in this day and age are really excited about about, you know, being individuals and expressing yourself individually and things like that, which is great. And thinking outside the box. That's the one I was trying to think of. Thinking outside the box. Okay. You know, I don't put labels on me. I'm not defined by labels. I'm not defined by, you know, by your boxes. And it's like a, you know, rebellious teen type of thing, which is fine, except that our brain will automatically put things in boxes because we needed that to survive. Okay, that allowed us to. We evolved to do that because that allowed us to recognize things more quickly and thus avoid dangerous situations and thus survive and thus breed and thus evolve. So, however, we are where we are. We, you know, at least in the first world, you know, tend to have most of our needs taken care of, and aren't really on a survival. Aren't really. A lot of us feel like we're on a survival. You know. A narrow ledge, survival-wise, but for the most part, we're actually not. So making judgments and assumptions can be really natural, but can also really backfire, okay? The example I gave you earlier of the man I was speaking to on the dating site, he was assuming a lot. I told him, I have plans tonight. He said, oh, it's a date. I said, actually, it's not. He said at some point later that, I can't believe you like someone else. So he's not only assuming it's a date, he's now assuming I like this person and that I like him better than I like this guy. I mean, it's just like there are so many assumptions. I'm just sitting here like smiling, just watching this happen, being like, dude, you are shooting yourself in the foot. You know, at the beginning of this conversation, I was pretty excited to meet you out for drinks, you know? So it's really important. And of course, it's clear from my end, right? Because I'm not, you know, you're not getting the story from his perspective. So it's important to look inward, okay? And we'll talk about this in a moment, but it's really about recognizing what you're doing. So noticing could be the entire process, truly, because once you notice it, you already don't want to do it. He wanted to go out with me, you know? If he'd known he was shooting himself in the foot, he would have stopped. I think I might have told him at some point, but that's what you get for trying to date a dating coach. I'm just kidding. I'm sure he's lovely and maybe we'll end up going out at some point. But it was a very interesting interaction. And I do tend to be very clear, like, I'm not sure why you're assuming this is a date. I actually specifically told you that it wasn't. You know, do you struggle with jealousy or you know, that sounds like a very therapy thing to say. I don't think that's what I said, but I do like to communicate so that even if we don't go out, you know that I was really excited until you did this one thing. In one of the schools that one of the 4-year schools I attended in very intensive spiritual psychology, there was someone who said it's funny, that one just went out too. Yeah, it's happened twice today. This is just tea. That's all I'm drinking right now. There we go. Judgments and assumptions. Okay, we'll come back to it. No problem. This is always a little bit of flow. That's fine. So assumptions and judgments. The extent to which you do that, you really limit things. Okay. He really he really shot himself in the foot on that one. That was a really great example of like, boy, you're just making this, you're turning this around 180 degrees in a direction you don't want it, okay? All of this comes down to self-sabotage, right? This is what we're, you know, what we're designing. And so noticing, you know, notice where these come up. One more note on assumptions and judgments. Be aware of the energy that comes with judging. I'm not sure if, you know, you guys are reality show watchers or not. I'm not a fan of them sort of in general, but we seem to be getting a call coming in. Okay, let's see if I can make this work. Okay. Hello. Oops, you're on air. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, hang on just a second, guys. Let me see. Hello, can you hear me? Nope, not yet. You guys may have seen me do this from time to time. I'm not amazing at taking calls yet, but I'm getting there. Hello, hello. Yep, we're unmuted. Okay, if you can hear me okay, go ahead and just give me a call back and we'll try this again, okay? No problem. All right. So where were we? Oh yes, I want to talk about, I won't go too far into negative pleasure, but the reality shows I wanted to bring up about judgment, collusion and gossip and sort of agreeing with each other about how terrible someone else is. Those types of things tend to really resonate. That's a very strong energy that's very repelling. It tends to push people away. So I say assumptions and judgment, but really like, you know, if you kind of get into some gossip or some collusion, can you believe that? I know, I can't believe she did that. It's not useful. It doesn't make you better. It doesn't make the situation better. It doesn't fix what happened. It's really kind of one of those just shooting you in the foot type of dynamics. So I thought I'd just mention that. Be aware. So how do you do it? Okay, dating authentically. How do we do it? We're going to learn. It always comes down to learning to be authentic with yourself. Okay, getting to know yourself, learning to love yourself. Otherwise, how can anyone else love you? This has to come from you first, okay? The happiest relationships are when you're happy. So if you can't find a girlfriend and you're spending all your time thinking about how you can't find a girlfriend, how about fixing up your life instead? Fixing everything about it. How could you make it better? If it's terrible, bring it up to snuff. Bring it up to snuff. You know, are you happy in your job? Are you excited to go to work every day? If not, is there a job you could change to where you are excited to go to work every day? How different would your life be if you loved going to work every day? Right? Pretty powerful shift, yeah? So imagine if someone were going on a date with you now, okay, and you went through the date, everything was fine, and now imagine if that same person went on a date with you and you loved going to work every single day. You had a job you loved going to every day. How do you think that date would go differently? Right? How different would this be? If you absolutely loved your job, how would it affect the next date that you went on? Maybe you'd feel a little more secure. Maybe you'd feel a little more excited and confident. Maybe you'd feel a little bit more detached from the results. You know, we talk a lot about attachment on this show. And attachment's an absolute killer, especially in the dating scene. Look at this guy, the perfect example, right? You know, he's attaching to me, but instead of it feeling flattering or exciting, it's just feeling possessive, and I've never met him, so that's a no-go. You know, you don't get to talk about how I spend my time before I've met you. That's not a thing, right? So learning to love yourself so that other people can, you know, fixing up your life, finding the areas in which you can really, deepen and improve. You know, where can you make it better? Where can you make your life better? Okay. All right. So loving yourself, knowing yourself, things like that. Great. All good concepts, right? But still concepts. So, okay, let's get practical. How to actually be more authentic in the dating process on a day-to-day basis, okay? First of all, being more authentic, that's always knowing yourself, noticing, that's always the way to go. However, let's talk about the introduction process, okay? So like, whether if you're online, then maybe that is once you first matched or you first messaged someone and those first few days while you're sort of chatting back and forth. Or maybe you've met someone and you exchange phone numbers and you're texting back and forth, or you see someone a couple times, something like that. So in the first few days, in that initial introduction process, be aware of how you're being treated. okay? This is something that I see a lot. People often, the men that I talk to a lot, especially when they really want a relationship, will put up with a whole lot of bullshit that they ought not to be putting up with because they really want the relationship. But see, this is the dynamic. This is what this entire episode comes down to, okay? If you're in a position, if you're coming at the dating process from the perspective of, oh, I just want someone, anyone, love me, please love me. It's all I want, I'll take anyone. That communicates and pushes everyone away. That's why any client I have who has that perspective, I say stop dating. My recommendation, do what you want, but my recommendation is stop dating. Okay? Because when you stop dating and you start doing things with your life, maybe I'll start playing music again, and maybe I'll get that second bachelor's degree, and maybe I'll maybe I'll get my first bachelor's degree, maybe I'll get my driver's license. Whatever it is that's the next big step for you, shift your focus to your own life, and then there's a richness that starts. Instead of like oh, I really need, oh, I sure wish you liked me, it'd be so great if you liked me. There's like a lack of self-respect there that then communicates. And like, it's a painful place, right? And I don't mean that to look down at you, not bad for feeling that way. It's a very, very logical and very common place. It just doesn't get you the results that you want because it causes you to self-sabotage. It sabotages your desires. Okay, so be aware of how you're being treated. Okay, come at it from a different perspective. You always be considerate. Be be charming if that's something that comes naturally to you. When you're out on a date, but also don't have zero standards. Okay, if you go out for a wonderful date and the next day, and she seems to have a wonderful time, the next day you text her and say, hey, how's it going? And then you don't hear back. Maybe you text later that night or the next day and you don't hear back. Cross her off the list, man. Shoot. You gotta sort of see yourself as kind of a catch too. First, make yourself a catch so that you truly believe it. And then, my goodness, believe it. Okay, we've got a call coming through here for just a few minutes. Let's go ahead and see if I can make this work. Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Okay, we coming through? Hello? Nope, lost me again. Oh, different number. Oh, I'm losing them all. Sorry, I'll write you a little note on the Facebook Live. Sorry, guys. Technology, I'll get it fixed out for next week. My gifts in life are in human potential and helping men attract life partners. It is not in technology and making machines work. Not my gift. I'm not. I have no 8-week program that will teach you how to use any kind of technology. So I'm sorry about that. I apologize. But I will figure it out and I'll get it settled for next week. So the last few things I really want to talk about is really an actual exercise, a practical exercise to really help you be more authentic. So, not only what are you okay with and what aren't you, have standards. Have standards for yourself and then have standards for others. If you're sort of slovenly and you're kind of a mess and things, that sort of overly casual issue we talked about before, then maybe you need to raise your standards for yourself. Maybe you need to find your style and dress a little better, or dress well, or present yourself in a way that is attractive and confident, and hold your head up when you walk, and raise standards for yourself, and then raise your standards for other people. So when a woman comes along, for God's sakes, when a woman asks you before you've met her for her to pay your phone bill, send you money, please tell me you are not texting that woman any longer. I mean, I have clients who come in who said, yeah, and then they all just sort of want money, and then, after I give them the money, they just disappear, and I go, oh, no, those aren't real. No, that's not, Standards for how you're treated, not just in dating, everywhere. everywhere, okay? So how do you sort of figure out what exactly is what's okay with you and what isn't, right? So here's an exercise. At every juncture, whoops. Hello? I'm sorry, you're on the air on a radio show. Who is this? I just got an incoming call from this number. You're on a radio show. I'm sorry, I must have gotten lines crossed. I got an incoming call. Thank you, though. Oh, that might be my favorite call ever. Oh, I should have asked her if she was dating anyone. Damn, that was so funny. Oh, I hope that happens again. Oh, that's really great. Okay, let me get through this exercise, though, because I actually want to share this with you before we go. And then I'm going to celebrate being called by the sheriff's office. God, do you think they're after me? Hope they didn't find that body down in Louisiana. It's okay, nobody knows about that. Don't worry about it. Okay, so the exercise. All right, so you're going through the dating process, and there's a lot of junctures, right? And by juncture, I mean, okay, you've found someone that you're really interested in. That's a juncture. Great. What are you going to do? You're texting back and forth. Maybe you send a text and you don't hear anything for 3 days. That might be a juncture. But at each of these moments, check in with yourself and really see how you feel. Okay? Not what you think. Okay? Not what you think, not what your friends have told you or what you assume to be true, but what you really feel. Do you feel good being treated the way she treats you? Really good? Okay? If you're writing, let's say, a lovely detailed note about a mutual interest that you both have and she takes 3 days to respond, how does that feel to you? You know? Is that necessarily what you're looking for? Or maybe it's just an exception, right? Except, if it happens 2 or 3 times, then really she's just showing you who she is. Is this who you want? Okay? So remember, you're raising standards for yourself and then raising standards for other people. Okay? I think it was maybe Oprah the first time that I heard this. You teach people how to treat you. Okay? That's very important. So every day you're deciding how people are going to treat you and how they're not. Okay? Let's use this the text with the guy who was trying to go out with me and was upset about my busy evening. Okay? That is an absolute, it's a prime example. I can go either way here. Is this the way I want to be treated? Is this not? Or I can be like, okay, I'm going to wait and see, but it's kind of a little bit of first strike. If this is, if it's an issue, then I may not want to pursue it further. But at every juncture, I'm saying, how does this feel? Is this good? Am I into this? Am I not into this? Okay? Standards. Develop them for yourself. This is all about you. Okay? You up your level, and then you up your level of what it is that you're willing to tolerate, and what really, and then gradually, more and more areas of your life, you're only tolerating things that are amazing for you. Okay? And then you're dating authentically, and that's the entire process. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. It was an absolute pleasure. I would love for you to, if you're on YouTube, to please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If not, you're welcome to write comments. I'm always interested in feedback, comments, questions. Please send them along, and I'll be happy to address them as soon as I can. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. Take care.